right, we are on record for purposes of the initial disposition for the mother in this case and a bench trial as it relates to dad's case. We just got a note that said that the father's running another 10 minutes late, but I think we can get started as it relates to mom's disposition, and we'll of course incorporate him as he becomes available to us. May I have the names of our participants, please?
Nicole Underwood, guardian ad litem for the child.
Ms. Sasha Thomas, counsel for the department. CPS investigator Brittany Kelly is present, and also Ms. Lisa Moore is present online. Ms. Kelly, can you please state your name for the record?
Brittany Kelly for the record.
And Ms. Moore, can you please state your name for the record?
Okay, Ms. Moore.
Macy Moore, foster care worker with Catholic Charities.
Thank you.
Michael McFarland representing mother. If you could please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the court.
My name's Christina Lemley. I'm Kenzie's mom.
Is there somebody there who you want us to know also to introduce yourself?
This is Miss Chelsea. She's our child coordinator here at Odyssey House.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Brannon,
Thank
the
you.
Youth and Family Service Coordinator.
Michael Brooks, I represent the father, Matthew Wright, who I'm told will be 10 minutes late.
Yes, later than our 10 minutes, but that's all right, because we have something to accomplish before we get there. All right, Ms. Underwood, whenever you're ready with your report.
Yes, Your Honor, I was able to see the minor child on a couple of occasions since the initial hearing. She is thriving, she's happy, she's doing very well, she's gaining weight, she's reaching milestones. She seems to be very comfortable in her placement. She's already familiar with the family that she was with before this. So I think she's doing very well where she is, and it is serving all of her needs and is in her best interest.
All right, testimony as it relates to the initial disposition for Ms. Lemley. Ms. Thomas.
Thank you. Ms. Moore, can you please be sworn in?
Okay, Ms. Macy Moore, can you hear us okay still?
Yes, I can.
Good morning, Ms. Moore. Thank you so much for joining us while you are scheduled to be out of the office.
No problem.
Today, you have prepared a court report with a proposed case service plan for both the parents, but today we're specifically here for Ms. Lemley. Are there any updates or modifications that need to be made to that report?
Yes.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
One of the big updates is that Christina did sign her case service plan and sent it back to me on 7/19. We have had one parenting time since the case opening, but there has been a lot of struggle to get communication between us and the Odyssey House. I think now we finally got it all situated. I got Christina's direct worker, like a direct assigned workers, straight line, so I can just call her directly, but we're still struggling with her knowing what we're allowed to do for parenting times and whatnot. I've emailed questions to the Odyssey House regarding like placement and safety and things like that on 7/18, and I received a reply on 7/25. I have not had time to review that. At the last parenting time, I did make the house and Christina aware that I would be gone for this week, so we could get plans going before that. And I think that is about all on the updates that I have right now.
Okay, thank you for that information. And at this time, do you believe that there would be a substantial risk of harm if the child were to be returned to mother's care and custody?
I definitely have reserves about it. One of my biggest questions is what happens after mom would be released from the house, what occurs then, because her release date's not too far away. So that's probably my biggest concern. And a big concern I have is related to weekends and the amount of care that can be assisted with during that time.
Your court report also indicates, or where did I read that? Under your court report, the likely harm that you've also indicated, it relates to the limited supervision between the hour, like the evening to morning hours, and then the weekends. Is that also correct?
Yes.
And currently the permanency goal remains reunification for this family, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what are the barriers to reunification as it stands today?
Currently being up at the is a barrier. Just homelessness would be a barrier, unemployment, and I believe no transportation, but I am not 100% on that one.
Okay. And the conditions that caused the child to come into care were substance abuse. So the case service plan also looks like it's aimed at maintaining sobriety. Is that correct?
Could you repeat that? I didn't hear the end of it.
The case service plan, it looks like the case service plan is aimed at mom also maintaining long-term her sobriety. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then there were also concerns of domestic violence in the home. Is that something that she has received services from or remedied yet?
I don't believe I've provided any services for domestic violence remedies, but I can do that following this.
Are there any services other than mom being at Odyssey House that the agency has been able to support her with?
We have not been able to give her the referrals to that because she does similar stuff in the Odyssey House. And right now her focus should be getting sober in the Odyssey House, and then we can move forward.
And the child is with a relative placement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I know that you said that there has only been one parenting time, but what is the plan for parenting time moving forward?
Previously we had met in Chelsea, like halfway in the middle, because with Kenzie being underweight, we were trying to get her weight to go up. So I do not feel comfortable driving her up 2 hours and having to pull off on the side of the road to feed her as we're driving up. That's my main concern. So we had met in the middle and done a 2-hour once a week visit. And as far as I'm aware, that worked for the house, but they weren't able to reschedule it the next week. And I told them we need to have it scheduled for this week that I'm currently gone, and we did not get it scheduled before I left.
Okay. But would that be your recommendation for parenting time moving forward? Or now that the child's weight she's gained weight, is that still a concern?
I would say it's still a concern. 4 hours a day is a long time, especially in 2-hour stretches for a 5-month-old to be in the car. And that's just worrying about like her well-being, but I think so.
Okay. And if there's opportunity for like FaceTime calls or anything like that, is that also a recommendation at this time?
It is a recommendation, but Christina has expressed that she didn't want contact with Dawn. So I told her that that's the place. So that's who would call her.
Ms. Moore, you're breaking up. We only got half of that response.
Oh, I that is an option, but Christina has expressed that she didn't want contact with Dawn Fisher, who is the main caregiver placement, and that is who would be calling her.
Okay. All right. And you reported that you did review the case service plan with mom?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And do you feel that it is sufficient to address the conditions that cause a child to come into care?
Yes, I do.
With that, Your Honor, I have no further questions of Ms. Moore. I'm going to move to admit the court report and then ask the court to adopt the case service plan.
No objections.
No position.
No objection.
Thank you. They are received. Questions for this witness, Mr. McFarland?
Ms. Moore, you are not a doctor, correct?
Correct.
And you don't have any letter from a doctor stating that it's harmful to a child, a 2-month-old, to travel 2-hour stretches with a break in between to visit mother, do you?
No, that is about like personal safety and having to pull off and park and feed the child by myself in a car in a random parking lot.
Well, you heard your attorney indicate that the child is now gained weight. Is that still a necessity?
Yes, for like feeding schedule.
So what's the danger? I'm trying to understand, what's the danger of pulling over in a parking lot? Is somebody gonna hit you in the parking lot or what?
I am willing to do it if that's what needed. I'm just not comfortable with it.
What is it, a bottle you're not comfortable with? Or what, I don't understand the discomfort, or do you need somebody else to be with you to feed, or what's going on?
I would be more comfortable if I wasn't just the only person inside of a vehicle. I don't know where an appropriate place would be to pull over halfway between here and Flint. It's just a safety concern that I have for myself.
You understand, single parents do this all the time every day.
Your Honor, I'm
correct?
just gonna object to this line of questioning. This can be saved for an argument, and I would like for the questions to just be related to initial disposition questions.
Well, Your Honor, this is a testimony that was previously given, and it does have to do with the parenting time issue, which is very relevant, but I'll move on. You indicated that you sent a email to the facility where my client, the rehab where my client's residing, and received a response. What was the specific response to your inquiries?
I had previously stated that I actually do not have time to look over that email as I'm on vacation right now. But the questions that were being asked were related to like safety, what day-to-day looks like, where Kenzie will be in day-to-day, where Kenzie fits into the day-to-day, what happens on weekends, safety, who watches, how many workers they have, questions as that.
So when you're on vacation, who covers for you?
We didn't have enough people in the office to cover for me. That is why I am on court right now.
Which office is this?
Catholic Charities.
Did you forward the email to your attorney?
I have not, no.
Just one last question. Who sent the email? What individual, if you know?
I sent the email to Joanne Ingram and then a Darlene not Darlene Winchell. It was Brittany Lind that sent the email back.
Nothing further.
Mr. Brooks, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
I have no questions, thank you. You redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so as of the prelim, it did indicate that there were some Native American heritage pieces that need to be explored. Ms. Moore, do you have any information about that, or would that be a better question for Ms. Kelly?
It would be a better question for Miss Kelly.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Ms. Thomas, next witness.
I have no further witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, could we hear from Ms. Kelly on the Native American heritage pieces that were to be explored as of the prelim?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Kelly.
Come on up, Trevor. Ms. Kelly, I think you know the nature of the question.
Yes, I spoke to Marlene, which is Christina's mom. I spoke to her last week about Native American heritage. Marlene indicated that she has no knowledge of Native American heritage. She spoke to her mother, who also has no knowledge of Native American heritage. She said if they did, it'd be like 10 generations in the past. I did still fill out the 5598, and I sent it to the BIA on 7/22. So we haven't received that back yet, but it is sent to them.
Thank you. Any questions on this point?
No, thank you.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thanks for this. Great. All right, Mr. McFarland, anyone you'd like us to hear from?
Yes, I would like to have the worker who is with my client sworn in by my government. I don't know her name, it's not on the screen. Sorry.
I heard Miss Chelsea, but I'm not sure I grabbed the last name.
My name is Chelsea Brannon.
Okay, if I call you as a witness today, I presume that's why you're there?
Mhm.
Oh. What is your position and what facility are you at?
So my position is the Youth and Family Service Coordinator. I am at the Flint Odyssey House Residential Program.
Did you hear the worker testify about email correspondence?
Yes,
Do you have any knowledge of that?
yes, I do.
Oh,
Joanne
hang on,
Ingram
hang-
is, oh,
hang
sorry,
on.
sorry.
Do you know what the responses were from your agency to those inquiries?
I had completed a letterhead and gave it to Brittany Lind. However, she did have her own response as well as the letter I gave her.
You know, apparently there's a question here regarding security and who's going to be monitoring the child and my client, Christina, on weekends. Can you address that? Are you capable of addressing that?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead then.
We have 3 recovery coaches on the weekends, as well as a staff on duty that are currently at the facility every weekend. And then in the evenings, there was other questions as well, I believe.
Okay, so what's available evenings then?
In the evenings, we also have directors changing their schedule to be more available in the evenings. We have a staff on duty and minimally 1 recovery coach, if not 2, in the evenings.
And refresh my memory, I know this was given before, about how many residents, about how many staff are present during my client's visitation if she were secure there?
Well, currently we have roughly like 85 residents, and we have, oh goodness, I'm not exactly sure of how much staff, but I know there's over 40. I'm just not exactly sure of the total amount.
And evenings and weekends, is that number about the same of staff?
No,
Okay,
nope,
explain.
evenings and weekends are exactly what I just said a moment ago. A staff on duty along with roughly 4 recovery coaches, 3 to 4 recovery coaches on the weekends. And then in the evenings, there's 1 or 2 recovery coaches and a staff on duty.
So if Christina were to be able to have weekend parenting time, can you tell us what that would look like? Where she and the child would be and where the monitors would be? Can you, because we don't have the benefit of that email correspondence, can you explain to us what that would look like?
Yes, so we also do have medical staff here 24/7. So if there was any type of issue, she is able to take her child to be cared for also. But for the weekends, we have a sunshine room, and we have people dedicated to that area to help set up family activities. I supervise them to set up family activities and structured family events. So she would be able to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks with her child. On the weekend, there's usually 1 to 2 groups. So she would be able to go to that group, as well as she could get support with the child. If not, then she's been here long enough that she does not have to go to every single group. So she would be able to spend that time with her daughter as well. And staff is on the floor all of the time. We do have a program here where it's set up in levels. So we have CI level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And about half of our level 4s are interns as well at this point, because they've been here long enough to gain trust, responsibility. They have a long-term recovery. And so their supports as well with the families.
Apparently this child needs to be fed about every 2 hours. Is that something that could be accomplished that my client would be able to do at that facility?
Absolutely. So we also have a youth services department. So in the youth services department, oversee individuals who make sure that she has all necessary food, equipment. She would have pack and play, bottles, bottle brushes, diaper bag, all needs, diapers, wipes provided to her, as well as we utilize outside resources too. So if it was necessary for her to go to get extra resources, we would help her in doing that. But
jumped
we
ahead
provide
on
those.
that. Thank you. You jumped ahead on that for me. I appreciate that. My next question is, what would the sleeping arrangements look like at night for the security of the child?
Her child would be in a pack and play in her bedroom with her. And then we have something called a baby check for safe sleep. So they do baby checks twice a night. Usually it's around 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock, where they just knock on the door. There's insured to make sure the baby is safely in the bed. If not, we address that with mom and make sure the child is moved to the safe location. There's nothing in the bed as well.
Mom's in her own room then with the child, is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, a question that may arise should be, if mom is not participating, or if mom, let's say, just tries to take off, would you prevent the child from leaving and call authorities immediately?
So I guess it really depends on what this court determines the parents' legalities to be. So if the child is placed in the care of Odyssey and mom, then of course we would have to report that to CPS, as well as to make sure the child remains at Odyssey in a safe place. If this court decides that that is not necessary, then we would contact the CPS worker. So it's really determined based on what this court chooses.
So you would follow any order of this court is what I'm hearing, correct?
Absolutely.
If this court were to allow this, how soon could parenting time begin?
Are you referring to weekend parenting time?
Yes.
Overnight?
Weekend parenting time and overnights.
We could absolutely make that work as soon as possible. I will say, unfortunately, today is one of those days where we've got a lot of people out on vacation. So it may be a little bit more complicated to work out, but I'm sure that I could get with the recovery coach to navigate getting a meeting, possibly Chelsea, to pick her up if needed.
Okay, I'm just going to interrupt because I appreciate the exploration on these points, Mr. McFarland, but I think that there would be a much better way to do this, which would be to ask Ms. Chelsea to go ahead and be part of a family team meeting with the caseworker and your client to organize a parenting time schedule that would be safe, that would ensure for safe transportation. So I think that
No objection, Your Honor, although I kind of thought that this would have been explored before this time, because this was an issue that was brought up in court last time. That's why I've been spending some time on this, especially since. If I can just ask this worker then one other question then.
sure.
Sounds as though the direction of court is going to be a family team meeting where all the participating parties get together and discuss these questions. Would you be able to also participate and supply answers as you're doing now to a family team meeting?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I have no further questions then.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Moore, when do you get back from vacation?
I will be back on Monday.
All right, so if I asked you to set up that family team meeting, and not necessarily to conduct it, but at least set it up within the next 14 days of your return, would that be something that you could accomplish?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one more question from this worker.
Which one? Ms. Brandon or Ms. Moore?
Ms. Brandon, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Brandon, when we were in court last time, there was some concern that my client should focus on recovery before parenting time. The only question I have for you right now is, do you believe it's appropriate right now for her to have parenting time at your facility?
Yes, I do believe it's appropriate for her to have parenting time. She's been very engaged in treatment, and I believe that it would be a benefit to her continued sobriety and her family.
Thanks. I wanted to make sure that we could proceed with this family team meeting with that position. Nothing further.
And I would note for the record, the last order does indicate that parenting time should have been subject to the rules and regulations of the Odyssey House, as long as the same was supervised. So I, again, appreciate your questions, but I think that they need to sit down and really explore with that.
Sure.
Okay, any questions of this witness from any other attorneys?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, I just want to clarify that it sounds like we're not changing the child's placement at this time then.
Right.
Then I have a question.
I mean, I haven't made a ruling on that.
I'll just ask a couple of questions then. What would prevent, if the child were to have parenting time with mom at the facility on a weekend or an overnight, what would prevent, with only a few workers on staff, what would prevent her from walking out with the child?
So we have cameras as well in all areas. We have someone that sits at the desk to monitor the cameras. And we are very diligent about making sure that we're aware of where people are at all times. We do something called a census. So every hour they're going through and seeing where everyone is at. So it's usually, I can't speak to, always, but usually it is brought to the light of staff if there's any concern going on in the house, as well as them being on the floor and being able to, intervene before the person is able to leave the facility.
But is it true there are approximately 85 residents on 6 floors? Is that accurate?
Yes. So the 4th floor is all medical staff offices. There's not a floor with residents on that one. The 6th floor is detox. The 5th is all men and men with children. The 2nd and 3rd is women and women with children. And then the 1st floor is our main floor where our meetings, groups, dining hall, all of that take place.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Are your participants that are in the program free to leave at any time?
I guess I'm going to object for the same reason that there is going to be a family team meeting to discuss all of these issues as the court noted.
So is your client taking her request for placement off the table for the rest of today's hearing then?
I'm sure she's not, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm gonna allow it just based on that issue being outstanding.
Well, then now where my question's not relevant, she's not taking them off.
Your questions were entirely surrounding visitation. I mean, some of it was safety as well. I hear you on that piece. I will say, one of the reasons that I had denied placement initially was because I wanted to see your client's commitment to sobriety, given that much of her parenting was affected by her substance use. And so one of the questions that I will be looking for an answer to, Ms. Brandon, is whether or not Ms. Lemmy has had any relapses, any breaches in security, any violations of the rules, and whether or not she has made it through the first phase of the program.
So no, she has not had any issues. She has not violated any safety guidelines, left the facility inappropriately. She's actually been promoted and sponsored to a community member. She's leveled up in our facility. So she's on the right page and she's very focused.
Is she through her first phase?
Yes.
And how long is the second phase anticipated to last, and what is the focus of that phase?
So the second phase is to focus on responsibilities of things, your environment, building responsibility, being able to communicate effectively and address concerns without irrational decision making, writing it out and addressing it in a safe environment, structured. And at that phase as well, it depends. Every person's different. I mean, it's roughly 30 to 45 days, but at the same time, it depends on each individual's progress in this process of recovery as to how long it will take.
Do you have any information, like a programming pamphlet or anything that you could pass along to us to help us understand what the goals are of the program?
Absolutely.
And the different? Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Underwood, thank you for allowing me to interrupt. Mr. McFarland, we'll make sure we come back to you to allow you to ask any other questions.
Thank you.
I guess my last question was, are your participants free to leave at any time if they choose to stop the program?
Okay, so this is a twofold answer. The doors are not locked on the inside. That is accurate. It is not jail. So yes, they can leave if they choose to leave. However, if the child is placed with mom And it is this court's decision that she needs to remain here. If she chooses to leave and it hasn't already gone through this court and been approved, and she just leaves, then the child would have to remain here. We would not allow her to leave. Police and CPS would be contacted. But in regards to whether or not the door is accessible for them to leave, yes, it is, but no, they don't get to leave anytime they want to unless they're discharging from the program.
Okay. And someone had indicated before that there is a proposed release date for Ms. Lumley. Do you know what that is?
I'm sorry, I could not hear what you said.
Is there a proposed release date for Ms. Lumley at this time?
No. She came in with a commitment of, I believe, 30 to 90 days. So that was based on trying to follow this court order. And she spoke with her counselor, and she's willing to continue to address her substance use disorder, as well as, increasing her bond with her child. She hasn't had a specific date, however, to which she is going to discharge.
Have there been any visits set up with her other children?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Has Ms. Lumley had any visitations set up with her other children?
No, ma'am.
No further questions, thank you.
All right, so Mr. McCrell?
As far as parenting time, would you be able to support transporting my client to visit her child more than just once a week?
We are working very hard to try to navigate this. I know for certain we can do once a week. I'm trying to make it to where we can do twice a week. I think it comes down to the time frame and the days to make sure that it can happen.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Thomas?
I have no questions, thank you, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses, Mr. McFarland?
I'm going to call my client, Your Honor.
Very well. I think she has been sworn.
She is.
Ms. Christina Lumley?
Christina, how would you say you are going at the program right now?
I would say, my first week was a little bit rough. It was a lot of overwhelming. But kind of at that, roughly end of first week, beginning of second week mark, I had one of those kind of aha light bulb moments. Where, I was honestly able to admit to myself and those around me that, I had an issue and needed help with it. So I have been doing, extra counseling sessions with my counselor. I have been attending every group humanly possible in the program. There have been a couple of new groups that have started since I have been here that I also voluntarily have signed up for. Some of those being women's group, seeking safety, anger management, recovery maintenance, relapse prevention, parenting group, health group, trauma skills, smoking cessation. I actually have reduced my cigarette use down to 4 cigarettes a day. DBT, which is dialectic behavioral therapy. I have been working on volunteering in the kitchen on top of that to do like team building type activities and work. I guess you'd call it a workshop, not really a workshop, but running the lunch crew. I went from just a lunch crew member to the leader of the lunch crew. Groups with our enhanced parenting program. I have been looking into with my counselor also the availability back towards, family and things for recovery and transitional housing to be able to go to. I've been looking actually into going back into school again when I get out, things like that. We've been just, trying to look into some of those possibilities just in a little bit. I like Miss Chelsea said, I've promoted in the group from a boarder to a CI. I then became sponsored. I now have leveled up to a 1. I'm in the running to receive my P, which is the next like half step up into a level 2, which in all possibilities could be by this following week. I could get that half step. My counselor and I have been in the conversation of the possibility of continuing the multiple sessions a week instead of just the 1. Even though I'm past the first phase of the program and no longer required the same amount of hours as somebody in the first phase, I am still putting the effort in to do more than what is required of the second phase per week.
Oops, you froze there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where
Okay.
was the last thing?
You just froze there. How you're putting in more time per week than you are required to do. Let me ask you about your position on parenting time. Can
I'm
you hear
sorry?
me okay? Can you hear me okay?
There's better.
Christina, can you hear me okay?
Yes, there it's better.
Okay. What is your position? Would you like to have more parenting time, even if it means your child would have to meet with you halfway more than once a week? Is that something you would want?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So if your facility could arrange for that, you would want to exercise that more rather than just 1 visit per week. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And would you be willing within 14 days, as it sounds like the court's going to order, attending a meeting in which everybody's going to discuss moving forward towards the possibility of your child living with you up there? Are you agreeable to attending this meeting to explore that, and your worker is going to be with you also? Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Is there anything else you think we need to address today that we haven't addressed?
I don't believe so.
Thank you. We'll see if anybody else has questions for you.
Any other questions?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Did you have any questions?
I do, I have one. Are you and child's father still, do you consider yourselves together as a couple?
I've not had the opportunity to speak with him on that at all. I would like to think that, through the services, and they also offer services and counseling and things like that through this program, that, we can discuss a further, co-parenting relationship, and, in brightening our futures as individuals so that we can be the best parents that we can be for our children. And then moving, past that when we get to the point that that's, a working possibility.
I guess you answered it. Thank you, that's all.
Any other witnesses, Mr. McFarland?
No, thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
No, you don't have any, no.
Ms. Thomas had a question though.
No, I have no questions.
Okay.
Witnesses, Ms. Underwood?
No witnesses.
Comments in closing for purposes of the disposition request for placement and issues on parenting time.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, the disposition request is simply for the Ms. Lumley to be entered into the case service plan with the focus on maintaining that long-term sobriety, which it sounds like she's off to a very good start. It has just been 1 month since we've had the initial preliminary hearing, and then she has been in treatment. It's understanding that the treatment was in lieu of incarceration. And so with that, we are just asking the court to consider the newness of the sobriety, the efforts that are being made to create more sustainable parenting time schedule as well. We're currently not in support of placing the child with mom at this time, but again, I agree with this court that a family team meeting would be most appropriate to discuss those concerns and develop a plan that would look like something we traditionally do with an increase in parenting time in a transition period. I think that there are just a lot of questions about when mom may be done with Odyssey House and what happens next. Is transitional housing going to be the next step, or is there something else that can happen? And that's not to say we don't believe mom or that she's not committed. I think there's just a lot of questions around that. And given the conditions that cause a child to come into care, I think that we would need to do our due diligence and explore that a little more. I do think that now, I know that it's sort of been a little frustrating for Ms. Moore. I've received emails from her and her supervisor about not having good contact with the Odyssey House, and I'm grateful to hear that there is now at least a point of contact there and that they can continue to develop that relationship and have more open communication. I think it would be very beneficial for Ms. Lumley if all of the groups that she were doing, if there were any like treatment notes or contact notes that could be provided to Ms. Moore so that she can include those in her court reports and give that progress to this court at our next hearing. But with that, we are just asking for a standard 90-day review and mom to be ordered into her key service plan, which we understand she's doing a very good job of already getting a jump start on. Thank you.
Mr. McFarland.
Well, if Odyssey House can support more than one visit per week, Your Honor, I don't see the realistic barriers of a worker not being able to pull into McDonald's, public rest area where they are monitored through the state of Michigan, and feed the child if necessary. I just don't see that as being a realistic barrier to that. So even if the court is not discussing today placement with my client, is asking for an FTM, family team meeting, I think more than once a week that can be supported, that should occur, Your Honor. I know the court had concerns last time that my client was going to be focusing on her treatment and get that in order before there is increased parenting time and before the issue of placement is addressed. And I think we adequately heard from both my client, who appears to be going above and beyond, and the supervisor who testified today, her progress. Transitional housing is going to be way down the road, Your Honor, as we hear. It sounds as though more time than I think it'd be more of a delay just to wait for transitional housing than to increase parenting time. Parenting time is not based upon a reward basis, but it's a constitutional right. And even if it is based upon a reward, which it's not, my client, I think, has earned the respect from the court by what she's doing. So we would ask for increased parenting time. And I'd like an accelerated review, Your Honor, just because it's a family team meeting, does not produce, I think would be parenting time. We'd like it addressed sooner rather than later than 90 days, because I don't think that's acceptable. Thank you.
Any comments, Mr. Brooks, for purposes of the mother's initial disposition?
None at all.
Ms. Under.
Yes, Your Honor, I agree with the department that the child's best interest would be served at this time remaining in her placement. She is familiar with and comfortable with the family. The child is also able to visit with her other biological siblings that are under guardianship through another relative. I'm not opposed to the additional parenting visits if Odyssey House is able to accommodate those. However, I believe that the foster care worker does have valid concerns, and I understand those concerns with respect to needing to stop to provide the child with a bottle or something on the way there. So I don't think it's unreasonable to facilitate a halfway point. And it showed that the foster care worker has shown that she's made several efforts to communicate with and coordinate things with Odyssey House. So I think she has done a good job of attempting that. Again, there have also been FaceTimes offered, but Ms. Lumley has declined those. So again, there are other opportunities for her to make contact with her child, and I think those should be encouraged. But at this time, I do think that the best interests of the child are served in her current placement, and that should continue until further concerns and options can be explored. Thank you.
Thank you. The court finds all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's initial disposition as it relates to Christina Lemley. I have reviewed the case services plan as she has, and although I don't have her signed copy, I'm confident that this is the same copy that she's got, that she's had a chance to review. As it relates to the child's placement, it is the safest and least restrictive under the circumstances. Ms. Lemley is tasked with many things to overcome as she works her way towards reunification. One of them, of course, is her sobriety. That is paramount. And once that's accomplished, she still has to look at housing, employment, parenting education, domestic violence education. Many, many things remain for her to understand and become in the rhythm of, frankly, providing for herself so that we can understand that she'll be able to provide those things for her child. She's currently at the rehabilitation facility working hard, and I want to acknowledge that for her. We're not sure how long she's going to be there, somewhere between 30 and 90 days. She's considering transitional housing, which is a great step forward. Nevertheless, that does not provide the stability, safety, and security that this child needs at this time. She's still needing to be fed at different intervals, as the caseworker articulated, and Ms. Lemley has a lot to overcome in order to show us that she can provide that safe and stable environment for her child. We also wish her the best of luck in accomplishing rehabilitation services so that she can avoid any jail time associated with the violation of probation, for which she's also at rehabilitation for, instead of being incarcerated currently. I will order Ms. Moore to organize that family team meeting within the next 14 days as it relates to visitation. And I appreciate her appearing while she's on vacation. Thank you, Ms. Moore. And we hope you have a nice time from here on out. We appreciate your time and your efforts. They certainly constitute reasonable efforts towards the goal of unification. And we look forward to your efforts in the next review period as well. Ms. Underwood is also in satisfaction of her obligations. Thank you. And her comments are in alignment and supportive of this court's ruling today as well. We'll have our next review for Ms. Lemley in October. We have available.
Your Honor.
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Yes, we did. I'm sorry. I was trying to get back on Zoom because it froze and we lost connection for a good 3 minutes. So we did miss some of what was said, but a question we had was, is there any consideration for possible longer weekend visits?
Okay, so you're welcome to view this hearing on YouTube. After the conclusion of today's hearing, it will be available to you, and to take up any other questions you have with Ms. Moore when she gets back.
Okay. Our
next review will be October 22nd at 10 o'clock in the morning. Unless there's any questions, that's all as it relates to Ms. Christina Lemley. Thank you. We need a few minutes before we head into the bench trial, Mr. Brooks, or are you ready to proceed?
I'm ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Ms. Thomas, Mr. McFarland, are you staying?
Well, may I be excused, Your Honor, since it doesn't pertain to my client?
Any objections?
Your Honor, I would intend to call his client as a witness.
Well, then I'll stick around.
Thank you. Do we need a break, counselors, before we get started?
It was just like a humanitarian break, yes.
Very good. We'll have 5 to 10 minutes. May I have the names of our participants, please?
Nicole Underwood, legal guardian ad litem for the children.
Ms. Tasha Thomas, counsel for the department.
Macy Moore, foster care worker with Catholic Charities.
Michael Brooks, I represent the father, Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright, would you identify yourself, please?
Matthew Wright, father.
Thank you. It looks like we have Ms. Christina Lemley logged in as well. Ms. Lemley, this hearing today it does not really concern you. It's obviously your prerogative to be present, but we have released Mr. McFarland, anticipating that you wouldn't really have a major role in today's proceedings. Do you have an objection to that?
No, ma'am.
Very good. All right, welcome. Ms. Underwood, whenever you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor, we recently did have the initial disposition for mother, so I did provide a report regarding the child at that time. It has not been very long since that last hearing. However, I did speak with Ms. Fisher, who has the minor child, and I did a short visit with with the child as well. She is the happiest baby I think I've ever met. All of her needs are being met in her placement. She's gaining weight, she's smiling, she's rolling all the way across the living room now. She's meeting milestones and really just thriving where she's at. And she continues to be in the most appropriate place for her right now, in the least restricted placement as well.
Testimony today, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Journalist. Ms. Moore to be sworn in.
Good morning, Ms. Moore.
Good morning.
Today there is a court report that you provided for today's hearing, and it includes a proposed case service plan for Mr. Wright, but it is not signed. Can you just briefly indicate whether there are any updates or modifications that need to be made to the court report, or if you've been able to secure a signed case service plan?
Yes, I have got to meet with Matthew face to face. We met on 8/1. Our meeting went okay for the most part. He said himself that he wasn't going to cooperate with me and wasn't going to sign things for me. That was fine. I told him that's his right. I had to explain to him multiple times some of his concerns were concerns that are his lawyer and the court kind of issues, and that I couldn't really help, like the timeline, how long this is going to last, all of those things. That's not really me who controls those. I'm just here to step in and help you get what you need to do done to get reunited with the child. At that meeting, I had requested him to complete a bio-parent interview packet and the child medical packet regarding, I'm not supposed to say the name because we're on record, right? Okay.
I think we only know, you can just.
There's only one
The
child.
child, okay. So the child medical packet regarding the baby, he had told me that he would fill those out that evening and send me pictures of them the next day. I have not received anything. I was hoping that he would be present in court and give them to me here. Still have not gotten anything. We have not had any parenting time with him. We scheduled it on 8/1. And we were both in agreement that the following Tuesday would have been his parenting time when we started. He did not confirm that parenting time, so it was canceled. And that is bulk of my updates. I still have to go over the case service plan with him, but I would like to have level and calm heads throughout everybody before we do that. And that is all my updates. So if you have questions based on that.
Thank you. In your opinion, I guess, what were the conditions that caused the child to come into care as it relates to Mr. Wright?
Domestic violence, I know that, and the housing concern was the two biggest ones that I know off of memory.
Okay. Do you know if there were concerns about adequate parenting and whether the child was neglected?
Yes, because I know that she was underweight, and that weight gain was a big thing. So yes.
Thank you so much. And do you believe that the case service plan, as you've proposed, would adequately address those concerns or the conditions that cause the child to come into care?
I believe it would, as long as the recommendations from the services are followed as well. So yes, what it's written, but I know that there will be more that can be added to it once like psychologicals are completed and recommendations from that.
And currently you propose a substance abuse assessment, including recommendations, attending NA or AA meetings on a weekly basis at least, going through the psychological evaluation, following those recommendations. We've also recommended a psychiatric evaluation, and then obviously the appropriate housing and proof to the caseworker on a monthly basis. And then obviously permitting you to look at the residents for the 90-day reviews, proof of income, parenting education classes, individual counseling with focus on anger management and domestic violence, the domestic violence course with Mr. John Bailey, who I believe is a provider through Catholic Charities. Is that correct?
I don't believe Catholic Charities. I want to say Fostering Solutions.
But Catholic Charities has a contract in order.
Yeah, we can refer people.
to,
Yeah.
Attending court hearings and then participating in visitation with the child, and including ensuring that all supports included for that, signing releases, doing random drug screens, attending family team meetings, working with you on an ongoing basis to discuss progress, participating in doctor's appointments as necessary, legal transportation, getting valid driver's license. Is there anything else that you think, in addition to that, would benefit Mr. Wright at this time?
At this time, I can't think of anything additional.
And to the best of your knowledge, has Mr. Wright started to participate in any of those services on a voluntary basis?
He has not. I have not directly introduced the case service plan to him, but just parenting time alone, he has not participated.
Are there any conditions on parenting time, such as a confirmation period or anything like that?
Yes, so his parenting time is scheduled for Tuesdays, 2 to 4. I had offered 2 different 1-hour visits a week. He chose the 2-hour combined visits once a week, and he is expected to send me a text message confirming his visit 2 hours prior to his visit. So by noon, he is expected to send me some sort of message that says, I'm coming to my parenting time today.
And is that gonna be, I'm sorry if you said this, but Tuesday will be the standing date and time for parent
Correct.
time?
Yep, Tuesdays 2 to 4.
And that will be supervised at the agency?
Yep, at the Adrian office.
And can there be any support to assist Mr. Wright in getting to parent time, like running gas cards to someone who transports him?
Yes, I have offered gas cards for every other week visits.
Wonderful. Let's see. And currently the child still remains in a relative placement?
Correct.
And the goal for the child is reunification, correct?
Correct.
Is there anything else that you'd like to bring to the court's attention today?
The only thing that I would like to bring to the court's attention is that our original meeting on 7:30, we had to cancel it due to Mr. Wright arriving late to the meeting. After canceling that, he was very aggressive over the phone, saying that he was going to come inside and we were having this meeting anyway. I had expressed to him that that's not a possibility due to me having other meetings following his meeting and that I didn't have enough time to complete his meeting. During that conversation, he also expressed that he drove himself to our office and that he does not have a license to do so.
As it stands right now, do you feel safe working with Mr. Wright?
Alone, no.
What would be a proposed safety plan from your perspective when working and meeting with him?
Preferably, I would like it to be in the Adrian office because then we have more staff available and at hand if anything were to occur. That is my opinion on what would be best, but if that doesn't work, I will bring at least one coworker along with me when I am meeting with Mr. Wright.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor. And at this time, I would move to admit the court report and the case service plan as relates to Mr. Wright.
No objection.
Objection.
All right, thank you. The court report and proposed case services plan is received into the record. Questions, Mr. Brooks?
No.
Ms. Underwood?
I have no questions.
All right, I have just a couple.
Yes.
So on the first page of the case services plan, paragraph 2 indicates that he will participate and benefit from AA and NA meetings. Is that something that needs to be in there at this point? Or is it more of a priority to simply do the substance abuse assessment first and find out if that's necessary?
Definitely more of a priority to do the substance abuse assessment beforehand.
So would you have any problem if I crossed out that second line?
No,
for the
not at
time
all.
being?
That works for me.
Very well. On the, I'll let you make a note on yours. Counselors or attorneys, same question.
No
No.
objections to that.
On the next page, under numeral 12, that references the visitation with the child.
Yes.
It seems prudent to confirm visits 2 hours prior, as you articulated during your testimony, that language be specifically added to that. Would you agree?
It is, we did sign a birth family visit guideline and it does state it in that guideline and he was provided a copy of that as well.
Well, when I look at whether or not he's going to be in compliance, I can't see that. So what I
Okay.
do see is this plan, which
Yes.
is why I'm asking you if I can put it in there. All right.
Absolutely.
Any objections, counselors?
No.
All right, so paragraph 14 indicates random drug screening through forensic fluids and or the Odyssey House. Is that, does he have access to the Odyssey House?
That was a mistake on my end,
Okay, so
basing it off of Miles.
I'm just gonna line out the Odyssey House there. Are there any other options for him for drug screening?
We could do like forensic fluids at my office if going somewhere for that doesn't work. Hillsdale, I think that's where his residence is, has been a point that we can do those. So if that's easier, if that's not easier for him, he can come directly to the Adrian office and I can do it whenever his color is called.
So if we say participate in random drug screens through forensic fluids and or as agreeable as it relates to the location or where he has access to that, or how would you suggest we phrase that?
That would work. It would be forensic fluids no matter what. That's our drug screening type of program that we use. It's just dependent on where he would want his screening location to be.
All right, so simply lining out or at Odyssey House would probably be sufficient.
I believe so.
Objections, counselors?
No.
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Questions based on my questions or any redirect?
No.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return your seats. Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks?
I'll call Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright, the last witness testified that she is concerned about her safety in your presence. I'd like you to comment to the court on that impression.
The conversation that she was talking about was, I was in Ann Arbor, and as everybody knows, I don't have a license. So I had to wait for my ride to get there, pick me up, drive me all the way from Ann Arbor to the Adrian office. And they have a 15-minute window. I was 2 minutes past that 15-minute window, and she told me we could not have the meeting when, it was costing me time. So the ride never showed up. So I ended up having to drive. So it's not only risking my freedom, everything, to be able to be there to, satisfy everybody's wants in this. And it was still, I mean, on her part, I felt like it was a 2-minute thing past the window. So yeah, it was a little bit of a heated conversation.
Would
And
you call it a stressful time for you?
yes, yeah. I mean, I feel like they're putting so much on me, like with me not having a license, and it's just I don't see a way to satisfy all of the needs and wants out of the situation. I mean, I
Why do you
have to
say
get a
that?
job. What's that?
Why do you say you don't see how you can meet the demands that they've given upon you?
It's hard to keep work going and money coming in when I'm having to schedule everything around that. But then also, with me not having a license, I'm having to schedule other people's time and basically schedule their time with my time to do what they want. And and schedule my work.
Do you have a job, sir?
What's that?
Do you have a job, sir?
Yes, I'm self-employed. I do tree trimming and tree removal, but I try to schedule things out. And as I got jobs coming in, I'll schedule them out, a week or two in advance. But with this stuff going on, nothing is set in stone. There's no set time at this point to where I can tell people okay, I can do this, this, and this on this days, and so it's just everything is up in the air, and I'm trying to juggle it all, but it's it's very hard.
Where is the primary area that you do business?
Well, it's the Tri-County area, really. It would be Jackson, Washtenaw, and Lenway.
Okay. Where was your last tree trimming or tree cutting job?
Jackson County.
All right. Do you work with a crew, or how does this work for you?
Well, it's me, and sometimes I have 2 other guys that work with me, but normally it's just one, and that's the guy that drives me. He picks me up and takes all my equipment, and we go and do it. And he's basically my groundsman. But that's what's that?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying even that's hit and miss because sometimes he's got stuff he's got going on too because he does handyman stuff. So I try to schedule my stuff around him as well.
All right, I'm sure the judge wants to know if you intend to be cooperative with the department and their requirements as set forth in their case service plan. What is your reaction? What is your answer to that?
I mean, yeah, I will be cooperative. I've always been told that, when starting to deal with the CPS thing, it's best to just let your lawyers handle it and everything else. And so my view on it was I should converse with you before I cooperate on these issues. But yeah, if that's what the judge wants, then yes, I have no problem cooperating. I mean, all I really want.
What you want the court to know?
I mean, really, I want to be able to see my kid and be in her life, no matter what I have to do. I mean, yes, it may take me a minute to get it in order to where I can do it, but I have no problem doing whatever I have to do to be able to be in my kid's life.
I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Wright, have you verified that you will be attending your visit with your child today?
No, I have not. I broke my phone last Monday, and I have not gotten another one yet. I borrowed my buddy's phone to do the Zoom meeting. I plan on going and getting another one probably tomorrow, but because I was waiting for a check to cash. So.
Okay, so this is the second visit in a row that you've not attended, is that correct?
I didn't know if we'd be having a visit today because of the court stuff, so I just assumed that there wouldn't be a visit available for the day.
Did you follow up with the caseworker on that?
No, I was actually going to say that I need her number again because it was in my phone, and when the screen shattered, I can't get into it.
Mr. Wright, do you understand that this is a pretty substantial service plan that you're expected to follow?
Yeah, yes, I do. That's why I was saying it's I am trying to schedule everything around it because it's very substantial, and it's going to be, I'm assuming, multiple days a week for multiple hours a week.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any other witnesses, counselors?
No.
No, Your Honor. Okay, comments?
No, Your Honor.
Comments? Any comments in closing?
I think it's all rather self-explanatory, so no.
Ms. Unwin?
Your Honor, I would just ask that, the child remain placed where she is. It's the least restrictive means and best placement for her right now, and ask that, that the court continue with this process, and hopefully Mr. Wright will be willing to participate in the services and make some progress before the next hearing date.
The court finds all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's initial disposition as it relates to Mr. Matthew Wright. I have reviewed this case services plan, Matthew, or Mr. Wright, I should say, and I want to express to you that there's a couple of really big takeaways, okay? So I'm gonna ask the caseworker to make referrals for you for the psychological evaluation.
Okay.
And so what I want you to prioritize, she's gonna set that up for you, and you gotta pay attention and go to that.
Okay.
But you've got to make sure that you are confirming your parenting time 2 hours ahead of time, okay?
Yep.
And I want you to tackle getting a substance abuse assessment. So you're gonna go talk to somebody about whether or not you need some
Okay.
services around drug use, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Will that be out of my pocket, or I mean, will I have to pay for that, or?
So your Ms. Moore should also be able to help you with that. My guess is they're gonna direct you to CMH, which means that you'll have to have an honest conversation with a worker from CMH. But you don't need to have these conversations with me. So Ms. Macy Moore is the person who can help you get started on these things. And so that's why it's important for you to make sure that you get her phone number, and we'll help you with that at the end of today's hearing. But stay in contact with her, because you've got some things that you've got to accomplish here in order for us to make sure that you can see your daughter moving forward and get you on track. And she's supposed to be helping you with that. So you're gonna have to communicate with her if you want to be able to be effective at this, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so something else I'm gonna share with all of you is, I know we're gonna have a review in a couple of months here. A lot of times, well, and hopefully every time, our caseworkers are meeting with the parents, because she's gonna put together another little report before our next review hearing to talk all about what you've done and what you haven't done. She's also going to give me a new copy of the plan or your to-do list. So what I am offering is a court-funded mediation for purposes of that. So before our next review hearing, Ms. Moore is going to reach out to you, and hopefully you guys will be able to sit in a mediation to talk about progress and case services, so that you can really have a chance to ask whatever questions you need to. And I'll invite your attorney as well, if he would like to go to that. I know he's not the biggest fan of those, but I understand your position, and so maybe he can come in after introductions or something and make sure that there's a good conversation about your progress and the plan moving forward.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, you've explained it pretty well.
Good, all right. Well, in the meantime, your daughter's gonna stay where she's at. That is the safest and least restricted place for her at this time while you work on some of these things. I have reviewed the information supplied by Ms. Moore, and I appreciate her efforts. She's certainly satisfying her obligation to try to work with you to reunify you with your daughter, as well as Ms. Underwood with her efforts. And we're all looking forward to seeing what you're able to accomplish in the next 90 days, Mr. Wright. We're gonna have our next meeting October 22nd at 10 a.m. And again, you're welcome to join us by Zoom if you need to.
Okay.
October review for both parents. May I have the names of our participants, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. Nicole Underwood, legal guardian ad litem for the minor child.
Ms. Naja Thomas, counsel for the department. Ms. Moore.
Macy Moore, foster care worker with Catholic Charities.
Michael Brooks, I represent the father, Matthew Wright.
Have you heard from your client?
No.
Michael McFarland, representing mother, Christina Lemley. Christina, please introduce yourself.
I'm Christina Lemley, mother to Kenzie.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and start with your update, Ms. Underwood.
I have been in contact with the placement regularly, just to check in on the child and make sure that things are going well there, which they are. The child is in a relative placement, which seems to be going very well. She's got no shortage of people who love her and help take care of her. When I met with her late last week, she's attempting to crawl. She's rolling all over the place. She did just have a well visit. She's growing like she should be, and all of her needs are being met, both at her placement and as well as just with how she's doing with her her growth and her growing, because she was a little bit underweight when they took placement of her. But again, I do believe that it continues to be in her best interest to remain at her placement as her needs are being met there. And I believe the family is working well with mom and with the foster care caseworker in this file. So she is where she needs to be right now.
Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I'll ask Mr. McFarland if his client wanted to testify today.
Well, if you didn't call her, I was going to call her.
Okay, I can call her. I'll just ask Ms. Lumley to be sworn in. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Lumley. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Did you have the opportunity to review the court report that Ms. Moore provided for you today?
The court report provided today, or the one that would have been from the very beginning?
So she would have provided you a court report for today's hearing. I'm sorry if I misstated that.
I do have a couple different packets of paper here. I guess I'm not exactly sure as to which one you are referring to.
So the court report would have been an update on how you have been doing in services.
I know I spoke with her on the phone last Monday.
Okay.
I guess, can I ask Macy, would that be something you would have emailed to one of my counselors here?
I don't believe I actually provided
Okay, guys, one at a time, please. Ms. Lemley is the one who's testifying currently. Then we've got to follow the court rules in order to make sure that we've got a good record.
I apologize.
Sorry.
Ms. Lumley, did you not receive a court report that would have started with like a cover sheet and then indicating different documents, a court report, and then like certificates of completion for you, and then a case service plan? You didn't receive that?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Can I take a moment to confer with my client to see how she was supposed to proceed today?
What do you mean by that?
Well, you have to be served the court report prior to the hearing, and I want to know if she wishes to proceed without that, or if she wishes to adjourn, or whether we wish to proceed today and ask that we can mention anything in that report at the next hearing. At least like to ask her how she wishes to proceed. So.
Well, Ms. Thomas, it seems like maybe we should start with Ms. Macy Moore to find out if she was served.
Yes, Jen, I will indicate the proof of service does not have any indication that either parent was served. And I wasn't sure if that was, we were just getting separate proofs of service or not. So I can ask Ms. Moore more information on that point.
Stephanie, if you could swear her in, thank you. All right, proceed it will.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Moore, you did submit to the court a court report for today's hearing and a proof of service. The proof of service that I have, and I'm not sure if there's an additional one, does not indicate that either parent was served this court report. Did you provide the parents a copy of your court report?
I did send Matthew Wright a copy of it to his last known email that was in my SAC list, but I did not send one to Miss Lemley. I did not have her current worker's email address. She just got a worker change. So I did not do that.
In the past, how have you been communicating with her and giving her documents?
I've been talking with her previous worker, but there has been now a switch of workers. She used to be under a Joanne, and now she's under Ashley, I believe, and I haven't yet to get Ashley's email.
Okay. And as it relates to Mr. Wright, you provided it via email. Your court report indicates that he'd messaged you on Facebook. Did you provide it via Facebook as well?
No, I did not.
Has he ever replied to any of the emails that you've sent him?
No, he has not.
Okay. With it, Your Honor, I don't know if the other attorneys would like to question her, or if it's appropriate to move for maybe a week adjournment to allow proper service for the parents.
I guess I'd just like to break up with my client to see what she would like to do, Your Honor.
I can arrange that. Before we let you go, have you heard from Mr. Wright?
The last time I heard from him was October 14th, and he had sent me a message on Facebook. I can go into that message if you'd like.
Well, I'm just wondering if you knew whether or not he was planning on attending today or heard anything from him about that.
I did not hear anything. I do know he was present at the last court hearing, so he would have received the date then.
But he didn't reach out to you to let you know that he couldn't make it or he was unavailable?
No.
Okay. I have in my notes that there was a Native American heritage search underway for this family. And I was waiting for a copy of the inquiry that was sent as well as any responses. Has there been, or maybe during the break you could check on that?
I can definitely check on that. I'm gonna have to ask my supervisor to check the system. I believe CPS was starting that process, so I'll just have to check documents.
Yes, but we'll need those for the
Yes.
file. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to bring to your attention for the moment, and we'll take a recess and let Mr. McFarland talk through.
You want me to pop out in the hall? I already have the ID on my laptop. Sure.
That's great. And then Ms. Moore, you could also maybe look at doing a proof of service to the email address that you sent the report to Mr. Wright at.
Yes.
Maybe even a copy of the email if that's convenient for you. All right, and then we'll take a brief recess. Information about our new caseworker to Ms. Moore. And if you could just briefly update us on what your response to that was.
It was either last Thursday or Friday, I don't remember which day, but Miss Ashley and I had called Miss Moore to have a conversation with her, you know, trying to get the Zoom ID, just catch up, and so Ashley could introduce herself as well. She did leave Miss Moore a voicemail with her work phone number and extension and also her cell phone number.
Mr. McFarland?
A suggestion, Your Honor, there is another employee sitting next to my client. Perhaps that employee would share an email address just for service for today on my client.
Well, we are back on YouTube at this point, so maybe we'll table that. I meant more about what happened with your breakover.
Your Honor, we are requesting an adjournment. This is an important hearing. My client would like to completely review the court report, have an opportunity to discuss it with me. She has some literature she wants to have introduced, information about the Odyssey House, which the court has specifically asked information about that. So we would ask for an adjournment, just a brief adjournment.
I'd love to tell you it's going to be brief, but the next 2 weeks look pretty busy. So we can review, then we'll just continue today's review to November 1st at 11 a.m. to allow service on that point, and we'll look for some updates too on some of the other issues. The proof of service on Dad for his court report, his case service plan, and any ICWA or MIFPA inquiry. Okay, Ms. Moore?
Yes,
Very
I will
good.
do that.
Anything else for the record today then?
Not for the record, but
No.
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Good morning, Nicole Underwood, legal guardian ad litem for the minor child.
Ms. Taja Thomas, counsel for the department.
Macy Moore, foster care worker with Catholic Charities.
Michael McFarland representing Mother. I'll ask her to introduce herself. I believe you have somebody from the program to explain the program. So please, Mom, introduce yourself. You're muted. No, it's just static when you talk. Can I ask her to reboot, Your Honor, to rejoin us?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good idea. Plus, I don't think we have Mr. Brooks.
He's joining us by Zoom, Your Honor. I spoke to
Well,
him this morning.
he's not here, is what I'm saying.
Ah, okay.
So I think we'll have to go take a brief recess to get that straightened around. Right. I think we're better organized at this point. We've got Mr. Brooks. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Michael Brooks. I represent the father, Matthew Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T.
Do we have Mr. Wright in the courtroom? Deputy Ames is going to check the hallway. Thank you. I don't have anybody else in the Zoom waiting room. But Mr. McFarland, if you'd like to introduce or ask your client to introduce herself.
Yes, could you please introduce yourself? And I know you have somebody from the center there, if she would introduce herself.
My name's Christina Lemley. I'm the mother, and I have my counselor with me. My name is Ashley Sivak, and I am her counselor here at Odyssey House.
Thank you.
There's no one in the hallway, Your Honor.
Thanks for checking. All right, so we'll look for an update from your worker, Ms. Thomas, on any contacts from Mr. Wright. Mr. Brooks, have you had any contact from your client?
I have not.
All right, thank you for confirming. All right, onward and upward. Ms. Underwood, your update.
Your Honor, I recently had the opportunity to meet with the minor child at the foster placement's residence. The child is meeting all of her milestones. She's very comfortable in the placement. She is starting to crawl. She's attempting to get from point A to point B by rolling because it's faster than crawling at this point. But she may be crawling now. Again, it's been a short time since I've seen her, but she's recently been to the doctor. She again is growing appropriately. She was a bit underweight originally, and she's still a bit on the small end, but she is growing, which is good. Like I said, she's comfortable in her placement. Her needs are being met, and we believe that it continues to be in her best interest to remain at the placement. Thank you.
Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just for purposes of expediency, I'll ask Ms. Moore to get her report on the record. Good morning, Ms. Moore. I just want to recap the documents that you've provided to the court. We're here on a continuation or an adjournment from the court hearing on October 22nd. For that hearing, you had provided a court report and then attachments for Ms. Lemley. And then we needed an adjournment to include Mr. Wright's case service plan, an ICWA search, and then some information about the Odyssey House. Are there any other documents that you've circulated since submitting either of those packets?
There has not been any on my end, no.
Okay. And are there any updates or modifications that you're aware of that need to get made to your report?
I have a couple of updates I can make. So last night was Halloween and Kenzie dressed up as a lion and it was super cute. Kenzie had a cold this week and she went to the doctors for that. She has a follow-up next week because when she was itty bitty, she had RSV. So they kind of just want to keep an eye on that for her. A couple of other updates is parenting time. One thing that I am needing from the Odyssey House is blurbs on how parenting time is going. They're the ones who are supervising the parenting time, so it's expected that they give me a blurb of what is occurring and how that parenting time is going, and I have not gotten those. For some other updates, Kenzie has been absolutely hating the car lately. As of lately, last Thursday, she cried from Willis Road all the way to the placement's house, which is about a 30-minute car ride, and she was screaming and crying. So that has been definitely a challenge that we're facing right now, is that long car ride and her not wanting to do that. And then I believe the only other update that I have is on October 24th, I had sent an email requesting an update on the ICWA information and if DHS had gotten the return ICWA information. I have yet to receive a response. I sent another follow-up this morning to see if they do have a follow-up or a follow-back with ICWA. If not, I will start my own search.
Thank you for that. As relates to Mr. Wright, have you had any contact with him?
Yes. So the last time I had contact, well, the first time I had contact with him was on October 14th. He had sent me a message on Facebook saying that he had a new address, asked about Kenzie being moved, and I just explained that she's still in her relative placement, that she has been in the start. And then he requested that I move his psychological assessment closer to him. And I am not aware of any psychological assessors in Chelsea, so I'm still looking into that. But on 10/24, I had sent the court report and the adjournment order to him via Facebook Messenger. And then that same Facebook Messenger thread, I had asked him if the email that I had for him was an active email. He said no, provided me with a new one. So the next, the 24th, I sent him the email of the court report and the adjournment order as well. And then on the 25th, I sent out the exhibit to him. And I was able to see that he, unlike Facebook Messenger, it shows you if they read the message. And I was able to see that he read all of the messages.
Did he have a reply?
He did reply, yes.
To the read messages?
Yes.
That he received.
We had a
Okay.
conversation. Yep.
Okay. And did he indicate whether he intended to participate today?
He did not indicate whether he intended to participate or show up, but he did say thank you for sending it to him.
As it relates to Miss Lemley, just generally speaking, how would you describe her level of compliance with her case service plan at this point in time?
I would say it's good. She's doing what she can through the Odyssey House. One thing that I'm struggling with on my end is I was attempting to do a supportive visitation referral for her. However, with her being in Genesee County and the baby being here, unless she came down here, we wouldn't be able to get that service in place until she is out of the Odyssey House.
Is it until she's out of the Odyssey House or until she's back in Lenawee County?
I mean, it could start tomorrow if the Odyssey House is able to bring her down to our agency to have the visits. So it's kind of based on, they would have to come to our county to have that service.
Okay. Regarding parenting time, have you been able to discuss with Ms. Lemley or her support people about potentially shifting where parenting time occurs to limit how long the child's in the car?
Yes, we have attempted. So originally I had scheduled with Melvin, which is one of her counselors. He does the domestic violence classes with her. We had scheduled Tuesday morning visits. I believe every other week. We would still keep the Thursday, and then every other week she was supposed to come down to us for Tuesday morning visits. That has not occurred at all. And then I discussed with Melvin again, what if we do every other week? One week you bring her down, the next week we'll bring Kenzie up. And that I thought it was going to start the next week, and it has not started. As far as I'm aware, she has been using that like opportunity to leave the house to see her other children.
Okay. Okay. The referrals for like the psychological and psychiatric assessment for her, are those able to be made while in Genesee County? Like, is there any coordination with other service providers around there?
Yes, so she actually did attend her psychological appointment down with Dr. Haugen. We are just still waiting on those reports for her.
Okay. All right. As relates to Mr. Wright, I know that you've had some communication, which is good, but he did not attend the mediation to confirm, the case service plan that was prepared for him. Has he engaged in any services that you're aware of regarding the case service plan?
No, he has not. He was also made aware of his psychological, and he did not attend that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has he had any parenting time?
He has not attended any parenting time. He has not seen the child since the opening of this case. However, his parenting time has been scheduled for Tuesdays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the Adrian office.
And he just has to show up in order to exercise that parenting time, or does he have to confirm?
He has to confirm 2 hours before, so by noon.
Okay. And has he ever attempted to confirm and then just not shown, or just doesn't attempt to confirm?
There was one time where he was made aware that he had to confirm. He failed to confirm, but still showed up to our office. But we did not have the child present because the visit was already canceled.
Okay. Is there anything else from your knowledge or your court report that you'd like to highlight for the court's attention today?
The only thing that I would like to kind of highlight is the immunizations being court ordered. We had on 7/18 given all of the denial of immunizations over to Christina and her worker Joanne. We gave her 2 weeks to complete the class and get the certificate and do all of the paperwork. That was all due back to me by August 2nd, and that did not occur. So I believe my next step is to get that court ordered.
Is there a reason that this child in particular needs immunizations?
There is not a reason. Mom just requested that she not be immunized. So
Okay.
we gave her the proper documentation so that could, with the health department, so she could follow through with that, but she did not.
Okay. But this child is not like medically fragile with a history of, I know that there's a history of RSV, but there's no like hospitalizations for respiratory or anything like that.
No, the RSV is the only one to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay. And have you revisited that idea with Miss Lemley at all, whether she has changed her mind on consents?
I have not, no.
Okay. All All right. Thank you. With that, Your Honor, I have no further questions of Ms. Moore and would move to admit the court report and the attachments that have been provided in both packets since or for the October 22nd hearing.
No
Objections.
Was there something that came in after the October 22nd one? Because I don't have anything after that.
There was a exhibit number 2, A through C. It was given out on 10/25.
Did you email it to the clerk's office?
I did, and I also put hard copies in all the mailboxes.
All right. Okay, I can try to track that down. Were the ICWA inquiries sent?
Yes, they were sent. I haven't heard anything on if DHS received a response to that. So I've emailed DHS twice about it, but I can start my own ICWA search at this point.
We just need copies of what was so there's 3 things that we need for ICWA. One of them is a copy of the inquiry that was sent. The second is confirmation that inquiry was sent by certified mail as required by the statute. And then third is any response. But the main component that we need is what was sent and confirmation that the tribes have an opportunity to respond and intervene.
Yes, I attached that into exhibit number 2. It is letter B.
Okay, so that's the one I don't have right in front of me. All right.
Yes.
I will reach out to the clerk's office and see if we can find that. But I appreciate you confirming that that's what you turned in today.
Your Honor, I am sorry. I just want to clarify what was submitted in the report does not include the DHS. I believe it's 120 or 5598. It is the certified receipt and then the green card or there's no green card. It's just the certified receipt that it was sent certified mail.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to need that green card too, indicating that the tribe received it and then has their opportunity to respond. Thank you for that clarification. All right. Cross-examination from our parent attorneys. Mr. Brooks, any questions?
Just one, Your Honor. Ma'am, do you know if this 10-month-old infant has had any immunizations done?
I believe she had the first initial round, but I'm not sure after that, and I couldn't tell you what those were.
Is there a way you can find that out, or do you have to assume she doesn't?
No, I can find that out.
Thank you. That's all.
Mr. McFarland, any questions?
Yes, until we get the ICWA responses back, are you using active or reasonable efforts for reunification? Ma'am?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was for the judge.
No, for you.
I would say active.
Okay. And what particularly have you done that you would say is active as opposed to reasonable on this case? So I know what you mean by active.
In regards to what?
Well, the efforts for reunification, active efforts versus reasonable efforts. Do you know what you've done to distinguish your efforts as active?
I would say, what actions have I done? I've talked to your client about weekly, if not every other week, frequent emailing. I guess I'm not sure what you're asking me.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'll move on. The supportive visitation, that can only be done here in Lenawee County. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
What is it?
So supportive visitation is the 18-week class where the person comes in, watches your visit, and then gives you that educational piece before or after the visit. The reason that they're not able to transport Miss Lemley down here, because it's 2 or 3 counties, and then they're not able to take the baby from down here and transport her up there. So that's the issue that we have.
So why couldn't the individual Zoom in or FaceTime in or something while mother is with child, so she can make that observation remotely, and then do the online and then do the instruction? Why couldn't that be done?
That's not what I would recommend, because Wellsprings is an intensive in-person parenting class. They need to be able to step in and I guess help where they see fit. I've never heard of that program being online, so I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay. So if my client needs some type of transportation assistance to come down here, would that be something that would be provided by your agency?
No.
And why not?
So the issue is she already has every other week she's able to leave, but she's going to see her other children. We can't assist with driving her. That's just impossible to ask of me to drive 2 hours to pick her up, drive 2 hours back, to drive 2 hours back.
Yeah, I'm
drive
not
2 hours
asking
back.
for you to do that, but assistance might be, let's say, giving gas cards or giving her a cash allotment or a credit allotment to pay somebody to drive her down here for these visitation to and from. Can your agency do that? That's what I meant.
Okay, I would not be able to speak on that. I think I would have to talk to a supervisor before discussing giving out money. But my understanding, she's not able to just like catch an Uber and come down here. I think she would need somebody from the Odyssey House with her.
Okay. No further questions, although I may recall you later. Thank you.
Okay, any questions, Ms. Underwood?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Any redirect, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat. Anyone else you'd like us to hear from?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, any witness presentation?
I do not.
Mr. McFarland?
Ms. Christina Lemley, please, Your Honor.
All right, Deputy Ames?
Christina, you heard the worker testify that she needs your counselor or whoever is supervising the visits to send reports. Can you talk to the individual who does that to make sure that they give an update as far as each visitation?
Yes, sir. Joanne was my counselor in the beginning of my stay here, which I have now been switched over to Miss Ashley's client list. So yes, we will work on getting those from Joanne for all of my prior visits, and then getting the ones around from Miss Ashley for the ones since I have been switched over to her case.
Thank you. Next question. Last time we were in court, the court wanted to have some brochures or information about where you were staying at the Saginaw Odyssey House, correct?
I'm in the Flint Odyssey House, but yes, I submitted one.
Hang on. Just listen to me, okay? And you sent me documentation that you wanted me to present to the court today that I've shared with the other attorneys, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I have marked that as Respondent Exhibit A and have forwarded a copy to all counsel. I would ask that there's no objections that be presented to the court. I'm not sure how you wish to have that. It's information about the program.
Do you have a copy with you physically?
I have a physical copy for the court.
Just pass it to the deputy. Any objections?
No.
No, Your Honor. I think that it also reflects
Sure.
what Ms. Moore has provided as well.
Christina, what's your feeling about immunizations for the child?
I am not currently vaccinated, nor are my other two children. It has been in discussion with my mother through reading medical reports and documentations about the difference between what vaccinations were, 20, 30 years ago versus now, how they're much more synthetic. And it is much, in our, personal opinion and other documentations from medical reports that she had acquired when she was the manager of a chiropractic office, that it is more beneficial to allow children to develop their own immunities to different diseases and, bacteria and things out in the world
That's
rather than...
I understand. My question was, what's your position? Now, you've heard the worker say that she had requested that you go to a health department class and do what was required. Have you done that online?
No, I was told that was something I had to attend in Lenawee County in person, and then I believe it was Ms. Moore's supervisor that had discussed that further with Joanne in more detail. But yeah, all I was informed was that that would be something I would have to do in person, and I don't think that we were able to figure that all out with the distance between myself and Lenawee County.
Well, would you be able to do it at a health department in the county where you're at? That's Genesee County, correct?
Yes.
And would you be
but I
able
believe
to...
we were told that that was not an option.
Okay, I'll ask the worker on that. I'll recall her. Thank you. If you have a counselor there, is she in a capacity to testify whether the child could stay with you up there?
Miss Ashley is right here. Yes, if you'd like to speak with her.
Yeah, okay, she can address that. And how do you think the progress of your case is going right now? How would you rate it?
in regards to my being here, or in regards to my compliance with protective services?
Well, let me ask one question before I get into that. Let me withdraw that. There's some testimony that you have the option of visiting your child on this case, but you're taking that time to visit other children. Can you address that?
Yes. When Mr. Melvin originally brought the subject to me, he asked me, would you like to go to Adrian Tuesday and see the baby, or would you like to go and see your son play in his soccer game and visit your other daughter as well? I can only commit to every other week because he not only works here for the Odyssey program, but he works for a couple other organizations as well. And so I told him, well, let's do this. I see her every Thursday, so can I please use the opportunity to go ahead and see Jackson and Skylar every other weekend with you? He said, absolutely. I was not aware of the second conversation that was had about the ability for visitations. And then I know he had said that he was going to try and get into contact with Ms. Moore about seeing what else we could do to work that out. Because like I said, he does work other places outside of here, and I do believe he is on vacation until this next week. So I don't know if he happened to get a chance to speak with her prior to this.
Okay,
but yes, I did.
Okay. Now, how would you rate your participation in the program right now? And then I'll get to the to your case service plan. But as a program, how do you say you're doing?
I would say I'm probably doing a lot better in the last, I would say 30 to 40 days. I have become much more open to, self-recognizing core issues and things that I have had go on, in my past, or, things currently going on with me, working on, coping skills to be able to process through some of those things, becoming much more of a, transparent and raw person when it comes to my individual sessions. I have taken the initiative that when I'm not understanding something in group, not having that fear of, oh, am I going to look stupid if I ask, I don't understand this. So I'm trying to become much more self-aware that when I'm not catching on or following something, raising my hand and being like, for just example, Ms. Ashley, I don't understand what you were just, saying here. Can we read, address this a little bit, or taking the time to utilize my recovery coach or other people in the program to say, hey, we were kind of moving quick in group today. Can you maybe go over a couple of these concepts with me? I just want to make sure that, I was really understanding them. And then if, I wasn't, I can go back to the original facilitator. Like I said, I'm trying to become much more aware and, self-discipline, I guess you could say too, in the fact of, if I'm not understanding, asking, not just, kind of sweeping it under the rug, walking away from it. Wednesday, I did receive my P, which is the half step to moving up to the next level again.
Hang on, ma'am. Can you speak a little slower? It's kind of coming out a little blurry at my end. You received a what on Wednesday?
The half step between our levels is called receiving your P. It's being proposed to the next level. So this following week, I will go back in front of committee, which is our clinical team, counselors, directors, psychologists, things like that, to talk about my progress in the program, to see if, I've grasped the concepts that are requested of us at my current level, and then be able to level up further into the program. So that will happen this next week. So I will be leveling up again, depending on how my committee comes out.
Thank you. Now let's discuss, how do you think you are doing with your case service plan?
I have been trying to keep a steady track. I do keep a copy of my service plan with me and kind of checking things off as, I'm acquiring or accomplishing, doing the things. By my count, out of the 18, we'll say, requirements that are in my case service plan, I've completed 15 of them. There have even been times where I have called Ms. Moore and said, hey, just to give you an update or let you know, for instance, when Kenzie gets dropped off to me now, I no longer require a diaper bag or any items to care for her. I have acquired and been supplying my own. The last 3 weeks, completely everything outside of formula. And then this last week, I had been grocery shopping prior to her visitation. So I have all of my own diapers, bottles, baby food, the little puffs and freeze-dried yogurt snacks, baby oatmeal. I have a
We understand that you're able to bring the requirements, so you're able to now make off-campus trips, it sounds like, you're grocery shopping?
Yep. My recovery coach takes me, she took me to Myers this last time so that I could grocery shop and everything, which when I called Miss Moore to say, hey, I can do this now, I have acquired all these items, she had made the comment to me then about, oh, wow, I wasn't even going to, really expect or require that of you until you were out of the program because I didn't think you'd be able to do it. I advocated and used the system through the Odyssey program and have, acquired and been able to complete all of that type of thing. So yeah, by my account, out of the 18, just basic requirements of my service plan, I have completed 15 of them. Outside of that, I'm always trying to brainstorm and problem solve here with the help of my counselor now with, what are some ways that we can figure out, increasing parenting time, things in that nature, asking Miss Moore, what are my options here? And it has been made, brought to my attention that the every other week with Mr. Melvin was the only, was the option before parenting time could be increased. And then when the last time I spoke to her about it, her response was that she has a lot of other cases and she would have to check the schedule for her visiting room. But now, her visiting, she wasn't sure what the availability of her visiting room would be for me to do the visits there. So really I feel on my end, that's like my only big hiccup with the case services plan is, the fact of her being little and it being a 2 or 2.5 hour car ride out here, or, having somebody out here with the availability to be gone the entire day with me to get me the 2 or 2.5 hours down there, I think has been really our only big hiccup.
Is there some place in the middle that you think you might be able to meet so it's not such a long ride for her? Have you thought about that maybe?
I know our original visitation, we had met in Chelsea at the public library. I have, since being here, cut all ties to her dad and stopped all communications with her father, all of that nature. Hearing that he is currently in the Chelsea area, I mean, if we could come up with something outside of Chelsea, I'm sure Miss Ashley and I could see if we could work something. Like, I can't speak on the program's part. I wouldn't have a problem attempting to do that. My only request would be not to be in the Chelsea area this time, just due to if that is where her dad is running around. I am not comfortable with running into him.
Thank you. Okay. I have no more questions. I do want to get to your counselor. Is it okay if we let other attorneys ask you questions now?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Lumley, what's the timeline looking like for you with respect to being at the Odyssey House?
In communication with my probation officer, we have agreed on long-term, which by her definition and the definition of Jackson County is 9 to 12 months or the level 3P. But she said, she would be in support with whatever the clinician team here comes to with their conclusions. My last family focus, we all came to the conclusion that, I was not prepared to, go back out and return back into, society, lack of a better kind of term for it. So what my counselor and I had been speaking about was, doing another 3 to 6 months here, and then having a conversation with my probation officer about moving from the residential program into the intense outpatient program, which then involves their recovery housing program. So then that would be their Saginaw program. Due to me being a member of Region 5, the Region 5 housing is Saginaw. So 3 to 6 months here, and then an additional 3 to 6 months in recovery housing and intense outpatient.
And do you believe it's in Kenzie's or the minor child's best interests to remain in the placement that she's in now based on your long-term plan?
Personally, no. I think it would be much better in her and my interest to be able to have her with me here more. That way, I can continue to work on my journey in recovery and becoming a person of recovery. And then at the same time, having the support here with her and integrating her back into my life full time. That way, it's not an overwhelming situation going back out into the world on top of, getting back an infant full time. So that way I can not lose any more, parent-child bond that I would have with her, or parental bond with her over, the course of the time that I am here.
Okay, so no further questions, thank you.
Any redirect?
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I have received the exhibit that was proposed. It's a copy of another, another copy of the Odyssey House confirmation information, the proposed case services plan for Mr. Wright, and interestingly, is a copy of the green card that indicates that the Bureau of Indian Affairs Midwest Regional Office did receive by certified mail something. So what I have is the green card, which does confirm that the BIA received something on July 29th, 2024 by certified mail. So I've got this in the order just for clarification that I've received this, but what I need now is a copy of what was sent. Unless something, but I have literally 2 copies of what Ms. Moore sent, one from October 25th and one from October 28th, and they're the exact same. And again, it's the front and back of the green card receipt. So we know they got something, but now I just need to know what they were sent. Any questions about that?
No, thank you.
Okay. Specifically, Ms. Moore, do you have any questions about that?
No, I do not. I will reach out to Brittany this afternoon and see if I can get a response from her.
Great, yes. And of course, double check to see if the BIA sent anything back, please.
Absolutely.
Very good. All right, Mr. McFarland, any other witnesses today?
Couple questions for Ms. Moore, Your Honor.
Am I still under?
You're still on.
Okay.
Ms. Moore, actually, if you just want to stay in your seat, frankly, I can see you better from there. And I'm assuming Mr. McFarland doesn't have a whole lot of questions.
Okay.
No, just a few.
Sounds good.
I will remind you, you do remain under oath.
Yes, Your Honor.
My client testified about the immunization classes. Do they have to be taken here at the health department in Lenawee or any health department?
I actually just heard back from my supervisor. She says she can do it in Genesee County. I think it was my understanding that the child resided in this county, so she had to do it in this county.
Okay, so she can do that up there and that will suffice for what, if she follows through with that, that'll suffice for your requirements, correct?
I will leave that to the judge to decide.
Well, what's your agency policy? Isn't the policy of the agency that if she doesn't want immunizations, this is the steps that she must take, right?
Correct, with the understanding that she had a time frame on it.
Well, you kind of misdirected her also in that it couldn't be done up there, correct?
She could have called the DHS office.
Yes, could you, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. What about my client's suggestion about meeting, so the child doesn't have to go all the way up there or her all the way here at some halfway point?
Yes, that was our original deal and plan, and then it was requested that it get moved up to her. So if we want to switch it back to what it was, that's fine. That was our original plan.
Okay, is that something that you could, maybe a family team meeting might be able to hash out?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, no further questions.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Moore on that line?
No.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Briefly,
Anyone
the
else?
counselor who's there, I've requested her.
All right, Mr. McFarland, we are at 12:30. I would invite you to defer on that till after a lunch break. If that can be accommodated by the Odyssey House, I'd like to offer the opportunity for that before we go any further.
Let me just ask him, ma'am, can you return at what time, Your Honor?
We could begin at 1. Or actually, you know what? We've got the 1:30. That's probably going to go till 2:30. I could give you the 3 o'clock slot would give us an actual break for lunch.
Okay?
I can make that happen. Yep.
Thank you. We'll do that, Your Honor.
Well, is that okay with the rest of our attorneys?
Well, Your Honor,
Ms. Moore,
as much as I don't have a client, I ask to be excused from the 3:30 or 3 o'clock hearing. It's
No
pointless.
objection. No objection.
yeah, no objection to that. I don't know if Ms. Moore is available or Ms.
That will be fine. Could I join via Zoom when we return?
No objection.
Yes.
Thank you.
I can make 3 o'clock work as well.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll resume at 3 so we can give everyone a chance to get their own chicken noodle soup, and I'll see you back here at 3. Are you ready to proceed with your witness?
I am, Your Honor. I didn't catch Ashley's last name. It's kind of obscured there on the screen. Ma'am, what's your last name?
It is CBAT.
And how would you like me to address you today?
Whatever you feel comfortable with, I'm good with Ashley.
Okay, Ashley, easier.
Mr.
Last time
McFarland, Mr. McFarland,
Yes.
let's have your witness sworn.
Last time we were in court, my client was requesting that the child live with her, and the judge was of the opinion she really needed to focus during this last review on her recovery. Do you think mother, my question to you is, do you think mother has focused enough and has progressed enough on her recovery for us to consider having the child live at your facility with mother?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and what observations or what has she completed in your mind would make that an option at this point?
I have watched Christina over the last month or so really kind of grow within her understanding of her own recovery and identifying as a person in recovery, being able to establish coping skills, core issues, identifying toxic relationships, being able to negotiate for herself in a more appropriate manner than what she was doing, staying resolved when she's not really getting things how she wants them done. She's doing much better in that area. I see her communicating appropriately for her needs as well, and just really being responsible.
Okay. And another concern I know the court expressed was permanency, in that if my client actually progresses and moves on to a independent living situation or a housing unit, would the child be able to follow? Is that something in the next 90 days that we'd be looking at or not, that we'd have to concern ourselves with?
I'm sorry, you mean like leaving recovery treatment altogether?
No, basically continuing recovery at a halfway house or a living house, whatever you might call that up there.
In the next 90 days?
Correct.
I would say no. And as far as that goes with recovery housing, I know our Saginaw recovery housing allows people to have their children with them as well while she would be in treatment there. And typically what we do with parents who have children actively with them, we do their transition or discharge plan and ensure that where they're going to next will allow them to continue to have their children.
Thank you. Next, you've heard, I know, the issue with visitation, transportation. Would your facility, how do you accommodate my client with her visits? If she needs to get down here or meet halfway, can you explain?
So unfortunately, that would be something that I would have to get with my supervisor with. I did try to while we were on break so that I could have some type of response for that, but she has been in and out of meetings. So typically, if Odyssey does have to transport, we try to have it scheduled out, but what happens is we have to find a driver because it's not all necessarily the same staff member every time. Like, it can't always be me doing the transport. You know, I have a caseload with like 10 plus people on it and I run groups. And so then with the way our program operates as well, if a male is driving her, there has to be another female with her. If you know, somebody who's still currently in the program but getting ready to like complete our program is driving because they've been approved to drive, she might have to have a peer with her the whole time. So not only it doesn't get tricky and difficult, only because we have to pull so many staff and other people out for that whole time, but then we have to ensure that we have a vehicle. I do know that we try as best as we can, but we cannot always guarantee it.
Thank you. Okay. Lastly, you heard that we need to have visitation notes supplied to the worker. I'm sure that's going to be part of the consideration regarding the child living up there. Is that something that you can see that would be accomplished?
Yeah, yep, I already wrote it down and I was going to be getting it put on my weekly schedule.
Okay. One more question. No, we'll skip that. I'm done.
Questions, Ms. Nemes?
I might have missed this in prior testimony, so I apologize if this is redundant. Is part of the program, and I know that there was a lot of information in the current stage that Ms. Lemley is in, and then transitioning out. Is there an opportunity for her to like obtain employment and sort of have these? I don't know how the best way to word this, like the typical community engagement, but still have that safe environment to go back home to?
Okay, so I think I understand what you're saying. So while she's in inpatient and under like me, like as I'm with me being her counselor, she would not be able to get a job. However, as she approaches this new level, like she was talking about earlier, she then has the privilege to start attending outside meetings with peer support. So she can start to get engaged in the pathway of recovery that she chooses and really feel out a lot of those different options. If or when she transitions to recovery housing, that would be when she is allowed to get employment, go to meetings outside while still having peer support.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification. I have no further questions.
Ms. Underwood?
What is a typical day like for Miss Lemley at the Odyssey House now?
Okay. So in the morning, there is groups from either 9:30 to 11:30. Yeah, they're 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning. We do have in-house daycare now at this point, so anybody who has a child on site with them is able to utilize the in-house daycare during that group time. Shortly after that, about an hour or so later, they have lunch. So around 12:30ish, they have lunch. And then the groups are again from 2 to 4. And then if they have to use in-house daycare, they would be able to utilize that. And then after 5 o'clock, it's kind of scattered. They're typically either in like community groups, relapse prevention groups. The weekends have pretty consistent groups or sessions with people at scheduled times of day. There's usually something in the morning and something in the afternoon. She might get pulled into a group on somebody, meaning like there's a concern and they might want her opinion, or she might have knowledge of something. So that might happen in a day. We have what we call an encounter system. It's our conflict resolution system. It is a good coping skill for people who do not know how to communicate their emotions appropriately. So she is sometimes in those if she has concerns, if someone made her feel a certain type of way, if someone dropped the ball and didn't do something for her, and she's allowed to go through that process of our conflict resolution system so she can get her needs met or some resolvement out of issues. That happens throughout the week as well as the weekends. If they're appropriate levels, they have times during the day and the evenings where they can attend outside recovery meetings, church. They can negotiate to be able to have their coach take them shopping throughout the week as needed for items that they need once it's been approved by their counselor. I'm trying to think. I know we do like reps on Fridays for the house, all the individuals in the house. That's done Friday evening. And then I know she meets with me at least once a week for 45 minutes or more for her individual session.
Okay. And is there childcare outside of the normal 8 to 5, Monday through Friday?
Yes.
Okay. If the judge were to order or allow the minor child to move up to Genesee County, how would Odyssey House be able to accommodate parenting time for the other parent in this matter?
So typically what we do is once there is like a schedule put in place or a court order put in place, then Odyssey does its best to make accommodations to ensure that that's taking place. At the end of the day, we have to follow the law and what's been put in a court order. So, if the father, I'm assuming that's what we're discussing, if the father had visitations, then we would have to work with, the agency that he's working with. Can they meet us halfway? Can they transport? How are we going to go about doing that? But I do know I've been working for Odyssey for roughly 8-9 years. And I've never really seen a moment here in residential where they denied anybody visitations.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Any redirect, Mr. McFarland?
No, thank you. No further witnesses.
Any recross, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Anyone you'd like us to hear from today, Ms. Underwood?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Very well. Comments in closing, Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, the agency is just asking for a standard 90-day review to allow Ms. Emily to continue to experience the stabilization. I think the last hearing back in July, that was a significant concern early on in sobriety and in the program. And I know at that time, there was also some concern about wanting, mom to focus on her sobriety. And then once that was sustainable, then focusing on moving into independent living, ensuring domestic violence was addressed, which it sounds like it is being addressed in the program, getting employment to ensure financial stability and security for her and her child. And I think that Miss Emily is definitely on her way to being stabilized in all of those areas. I know that it's going to take some time for her to have independent housing or even be in transitional housing and have employment, all of those things. And so I don't want to discredit that. And I also just want to note that at this time, the agency is still asking the court to keep the child in her foster care placement. Right now, parenting time is still supervised. There hasn't been an opportunity for mom to engage in any of those therapeutic parenting / parenting education type situations that we would really like to see, given the history of the case, the reasons the child is in care. I think that during this review period in a family team meeting, Ms. Macy Moore is definitely capable of working with mom and the service providers and the LJL to understand how to maybe increase that parenting time, move it towards, and obviously, during that discussing what it would look like for unsupervised parenting time and transitioning more that way. I think it's just a little premature to uproot the infant at this period of time to be with mom, given these different dynamics that we're experiencing here, especially with the consideration of dad. And with that, at this time, I would leave it to the court's discretion about parenting time with dad. He's not exercising it. And frankly, I don't think he has seen the child since June 2024. So it's been more than 3 months. And he has not done anything to take steps to have parenting time, to try to regain custody in any way, shape, or form. And at this point, I would argue that it amounts to abandonment, and I would ask the court to consider the idea of suspending parenting time until he avails himself to the court and to engage in services. Other than that, Your Honor, I would just ask for the 90-day review and combined review permanency planning hearing. Thank you.
Mr. McFarland?
Well, hopefully some of the questions the court wanted to know about the program have been answered by the material that we supplied to all parties in the court today. From my recollection, the main issue which brought my client under the jurisdiction of this court was indeed addiction. And she is addressing her addiction issues right now and appears to be quite successfully. There's not going to be an easy time for this child to go back with mother. But the longer the child is separated from mother, the harder it's going to be down the road to reunite. The child's going to form a more motherly bond at the age the child is with the placement right now and not the mother, Your Honor. So we've had other cases where parents in addiction are able to have their children placed with them. At least one or two have been my clients, female mothers on cases. I understand how the agency does need to have parenting time notes to see how things are going, but it appears as though everything is lined up. There is daycare provided when my client would be attending and is attending classes and everything else up there. She's not going to be leaving for a job right now. Not going to be leaving for independent living. But she is able to have everything that the child needs up there. That's been testified to. So we're asking that perhaps this be considered sooner rather than later. Especially, we don't have any testimony. We've heard dicta, but no testimony really to the contrary, that my client is not ready for that. We have somebody who is familiar with that situation, which is the counselor. Perhaps even an accelerated review on the issue of mother and child reuniting in that facility. Although we would really like to see today an order that within, let's say 30 days or immediately, that this child is reunited with mother up there. Thank you.
Ms. Underwood.
Your Honor, I will echo Ms. Thomas's comments that it's wonderful to see that Ms. Lemley is doing well and that she's sober. It sounds like she's making progress where she is and that she's been focusing on her sobriety and the issues surrounding why she wasn't sober prior, which is good to see and is in the minor child's best interest. However, I do believe that it is the child's best interest to continue in her foster placement while Ms. Lemley continues her road to recovery. It's just, I think, a little bit premature when Ms. Lemley hasn't established any type of, we don't know how things are going to be when she's released from the facility and back into the real world. I would like to see employment stability, some type of transition out of an inpatient facility before uprooting the child again, who's in a relative foster placement that has all of her needs met. The child's continuing to get to see mom while mom works on herself and her recovery. But I just can't, while it may be a benefit for mom, I don't think that it would be beneficial for the child to be residing in that facility at this time. I don't think that I haven't been fully convinced that it's a suitable environment for little ones, especially from prior testimony that's been given. The security issues on nights and weekends continue to be, again, a concern from my perspective. And I would like to see more verification or assurances with respect to that end of things before the court were to consider removing the child or returning the child back to mom. So for those reasons, again, I am requesting as well a 90-day review period and to allow the minor child to remain in the care of the foster placement at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the court finds all interested parties are given notice for purposes of today's review hearing. At the time of the adjudication, the order entered October 2nd, but the hearing was on, I believe, let's see, on or around that time. Mom entered a plea by way of no contest, which means that the court looks at the petition as a whole to identify the issues, as does the department, in crafting the guideposts for which we look for a parent to make some progress in cases like this one. And I would note that I do want to say I'm glad that Ms. Margaret Gale is making progress in this matter, and that sobriety is certainly a paramount and most important issue for her to tackle. That needs to happen so that she can begin building a stable and safe environment and house and home for herself and her child. But there are other concerns.
Your Honor, I am so sorry to interrupt. I just want to indicate that we are here for Wright Lemley. I believe adjudication might have been for Mom back in June of 24.
Oh my gosh. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
I was just going to mention.
Yep, you're right. I got the wrong one in front of me. So give me 1 second. I'm going to grab that and have a look at it. So the adjudication in this case for Mom was June 27th. Does that sound more accurate, Ms. Thomas? Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Still, a no contest plea by Ms. Lemley. Identified issues at the outset included homelessness, unemployment, unable to no plan to provide for the child's needs, as well as no plan for where the child would be during treatment. So the larger perspective here includes the need for Mom to, of course, get sober, and I'm glad she's making progress on that. But also, she needs to show us that she's going to be able to provide for the child with housing and employment. And those are many challenges that people recovering from addiction have enough on their plate to deal with, rather than adding an infant on top of it. And I'm not trying to be light about this or lightweight in any way, but I think Ms. Underwood makes a very good point when she talks about the fact that we really don't want to introduce this child to, number one, an entirely new environment, set of caretakers, including pretty significant periods of caretaking, even while Mom is doing some of her classes, at least right away. I mean, it's almost another removal to return this child to this environment, understanding at that point also that that's a temporary situation. I mean, she's going to have a daycare set up, and ideally, Ms. Lemley makes progress and transitions into the next stage of things, right? And in that case, we're going to another place for this child to live with another set of babysitters and caregivers, which is the exact opposite of a stable environment. So I do need to see Ms. Lemley establish a significant period of sobriety. That's very important in this case, where we found her at the outset of this case really was in very dire straits, and leaving the child in her care certainly posed a significant risk of harm to the child because Ms. Lemley herself was at significant risk of harm, with nowhere to live, no way to take care of herself, and deep in the grip of an addiction that kept her from being able to make any progress in that front. So I cannot in good conscience return the child to Ms. Lemley at this stage of her recovery. She really needs to continue to work on that recovery and attack some of those other barriers as well as part of her case services plan before the risk of harm returning the child to her care can be alleviated to the extent that I can return the child home. The child is also with relatives who will be able to facilitate some additional opportunities if Ms. Lemley is able to take advantage of those during her recovery as she looks for permanent stable housing and employment and some of those other opportunities that come with a relative placement. And I would encourage her to keep that door open as much as she can and to repair those relationships if she needs to in order to take care of those opportunities or take advantage of those opportunities. As far as it relates to the efforts by our caseworkers and guardian ad litem and counselors, of course, you've all done a magnificent job. Thank you again for all your efforts in support of Ms. Lemley. I can appreciate the frustration on Mr. Wright's failure to appear. It is not the first time he's been absent, and I can see that he's clearly going to have a lot of work to do in order to repair this relationship. But at this point, I'm not ready to suspend his parenting time. I will say if he continues to be absent or disengaged from his case services plan entirely, that I will not hesitate at the next review period, at the end of the next review period, to suspend his parenting time. But as of right now, he still has some very tangential contact with Ms. Moore, and I'm hoping that will develop into something more substantial in the next review period. So we'll give him one more chance and continue to monitor Ms. Lemley's progress in the next report period. In the meantime, the child will remain placed with a relative foster care placement that is the safest and least restrictive under the circumstances. I would offer to you a review and permanency planning hearing January 21st at 11 a.m. I'll also be looking for that inquiry to be supplied with our next round of documents, the BIA inquiry. I think that's it for the details for today's hearing. Congratulations to Ms. Lemley on her progress. I look forward to looking at it again in January. Unless there's any questions, that's all for today.